Welcome back to Conservative News. Today, we're exposing one of the most dangerous, unaccountable government agencies, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB. Steve Forbes just sounded the alarm. And trust me, you need to hear this. The CFPB was created after the 2008 financial crisis, supposedly to protect consumers. But Steve Forbes is calling it out for what it really is, a socialist dream agency with unchecked power. This rogue agency doesn't answer to Congress. Instead, it gets automatic funding from the Federal Reserve, meaning lawmakers, and you have zero control over how it operates. Even the Supreme Court recognized this as unconstitutional. But shockingly, they didn't
these turbulent times. There's no better example of modern socialism than the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB. Created at the behest of Senator Elizabeth Warren in the aftermath of the 2008-2009 economic crisis, its stated goal is to protect consumers from bad actors and practices in the financial marketplace. In reality, it has been on a power-grabbing mission on how banking and lending should be done, as they think it should be done. Old-line Marxists thought that the government needed to own the so-called means of production to realize their socialist goals. Modern Marxists realize you don't need to own something to control it. Rather, you can achieve that by extensive, intrusive regulation. In the case here, the CFPB was structured in a way that is a socialist delight, as it made it unaccountable to Congress. It gets its money each year, not from congressional appropriations, where it would have to make its case and answer questions, but rather automatically from the Federal Reserve. That's right, the Fed simply transfers funds to the CFPB. The agency can run wild while thumbing its nose at Capitol Hill, which often does. On its face, this would seem to be a brazen violation of the Constitution. A federal appeals court thought so, but incredibly, a befuddled Supreme Court refused to throw out this bizarre, unprecedented arrangement that makes a mockery of accountability in a democracy. In practice, the CFPB has been a disaster for consumers. It tore after payday lenders, overlooking that this could push low-income people to the none-too-tender hands of loan sharks. It waged war against credit card and various bank fees that ended up raising consumer interest rates. It passed a rule that will have the perverse effect of making it easier for fraudsters to scam bank and credit card customers. The agency went after high-tech outfits that would compete with big banks. It made getting mortgages more difficult for certain groups of people. It launched an attack on auto financing that was baseless. Most of its actions are against small businesses, and on it goes. Of course there's wrongdoing in the money business, but there are plenty of rules and laws on the federal and state level to deal with those. Given its egregious mistake, perhaps the High Court can reverse itself in a face-saving way. The Fed is ostensibly supposed to use the interest it receives from its $7 trillion portfolio to fund the CFPB. But in a first in the history of central banking, the Federal Reserve is losing money. It loaded up on bonds and mortgages that pay little interest. Banks deposit their reserves at the Fed, and the Fed pays interest on those reserves at a far higher rate than what it gets from its portfolio. Last year, the Fed's loss was over $100 billion. The Supremes could perhaps use that technicality. The Federal Reserve isn't financing this agency from its portfolio earnings, since there are no net earnings. However it's done, whether by the Supreme Court or by an act of Congress, this entity should go to the historic dumpster. I'm Steve Forbes. Thanks for listening. Do send in your comments and suggestions, and I look forward to being with you soon again.
Shut it down.
And let's talk about its disastrous policies. The CFPB attacked payday lenders, forcing low-income Americans to rely on loan sharks. It meddled in credit card fees, making interest rates even higher. And it's been crushing small businesses while protecting big banks. Higher consumer interest rates, harder to get mortgages, crippling small businesses, attacking free market competition. Steve Forbes is absolutely right. The CFPB is out of control, and it's time to shut it down. Whether it's Congress or the Supreme Court, this agency belongs in the history books, not in our government. What do you think? Should the CFPB be abolished before it does more damage? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more conservative commentary. This is conservative news bringing. You the truth the mainstream won't.